Network.
We are now simulcasting the last hour and 52 minutes at prisonplanet.tv. Thank you so much for joining us today. Next hour, I will break down census takers getting GPS at every American's doorstep and how this ties in. I went and did the research and have the actual facts, and it is not pretty. We're going to go to Dr. Jerome Corsi here in just a moment. First, I want to tell you about a few of the sponsors that make this radio/TV show possible. First off, it's made possible by prisonplanet.tv subscribers, viewers like you. I want to thank all of you out there. Also, folks like HomeGain, great sponsor that we have, HOMEGAIN.com. This is a great place to get you started buying or selling a home, finding a realtor, and getting any real estate questions answered. It's a wonderful way to monitor the value of your home. There is a feature called Street View where you can look at the house at street level and take a virtual walk through the neighborhood you're interested in. And you've got to see it for yourself. There are tons of tools to help you. For instance, they have a home sale maximizer that'll tell you on average what the most inexpensive home repairs or upgrades are that will increase the amount of sale value of your house the most. For 10 years, these folks have been helping home sellers and buyers. Now is no time to mess around with your largest asset. Find a quality realtor at homegain.com and visit their link at Infowars.com. Max the orange gorilla on the right-hand side. You can't miss it. HOMEGAIN.com. Homegain.com. And one other great sponsor, MySolarBackup.com. MySolarBackup.com are just fabulous folks. A lot of things that cut off your electrical power, hurricanes, snow, ice storms, depressions, wars, whatever. Listeners should move towards getting off the grid, and here's a good way to do just that. A solar power generator is now available from our longtime sponsor, Solutions from Science. It's designed to provide 800 watts of power on demand in the event of any disaster or outage. You can get an emergency power backup kit, which consists of the Power Source 1800 power plant and a high-efficiency solar panel designed to provide endless electricity. Remember, too, that gas generators need gas, but in the blackout, gas pumps can't pump gas because they run on electricity. The solar generator is like having a silent power plant hidden in your home. It's the perfect emergency backup for troubled times. The government doesn't own the sun yet, folks, so make your move now. Their website is mysolarbackup.com, mysolarbackup.com, or you can give them a call toll-free, 877-327-0365, 877-327-0365, mysolarbackup.com. Okay, for the next 50 minutes, we're joined by Dr. Jerome Corsi here as we simulcast at prisonplanet.tv with a radio show. And he wrote an excellent article back in 2007 at WorldNet Daily. We were covering it simultaneously here from the SPP documents that Judicial Watch and others had sued to get of the North American Union body. And they kept saying, we're going to use pandemic flu, economic crises to bring in the North American Union, but this is secret from the public. We've got to keep this secret from the public. And they went over how the World Health Organization under this treaty agreement with Mexico and Canada would be in charge. Now we see that in the news. Mainstream news is now reporting what we reported and what Dr. Corsi is reporting, that this is the great time for the New World Order and globalism because it is now out in the open. So to break this down and his overall take on this fear-mongering distraction that's been used to get all the other real news out of the headlines is Dr. Jerome Corsi, best-selling author and writes for WorldNet Daily. Doc, thanks for coming on with us.
Hi, Alex. Great pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, let's go back to that article you wrote in 2007, which is almost like prophecy with what actually happened.
Well, in 2007, there was the Security and Prosperity Partnership up in Montebello in Quebec, Canada. I was there. And what came out of that agreement was out of that meeting was a new agreement that was signed by Canada, the United States, and Mexico, which was a North American plan for avian flu and pandemic influenza. And what the document agreed to was that if there was going to be an outbreak of avian flu or any pandemic influenza in North America, we, the United States, and the Canada and Mexico would handle that outbreak under the United Nations law. And I documented that there is, in fact, the United Nations has a coordinator UN System Influenza Coordinator, who's Dr. David Nabarro. I believe he still is Senior Policy Advisor to the UN Director General. And the United States has been moving in this direction for some time. In 2005, President Bush had announced a new international partnership on avian and pandemic influenza. It was at a high-level plenary meeting at the UN General Assembly in New York on September 14, 2005. So it's quite clear that North America has a plan for handling these health emergencies, and the plan is to go under the Blue Helmet rule. What it means, essentially, Alex, kind of breaking it down, is that the United States is no longer sovereign over health emergency situations. That's the bottom line. Are you there, Alex?
Yes, I know it's rare for me to actually shut up and listen to you. I'm just listening to you go over it. Please continue.
And in fact, the agreement is still on the SPP website. If you take a look at the SPP, www.spp.gov, and you search for the Montebello Conference, until very recently, and I think it's still there today, you can read the agreement that was signed. So, I mean, it's clear that this is an international agreement, and that President Bush has made U.S. management of a true pandemic situation subservient to international law.
Now, I want to expand on that because, I mean, it's one thing to read you writing about this a couple of years ago from the documents. You know, you and I and others have researched it. We know it's true. It's another thing to see Reuters, you know, with UN in control of global pandemic, UN telling Mexico, U.S., Canada, Europe, China what to do. This is more just acclamation, and that's part one I want you to comment on. Then part two, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, CBS, all, yes, martial law is a good thing. Forced inoculation is a good thing. We may lock down U.S. cities, but we're going to leave the borders open. How ridiculous is that?
Well, and as I pointed out, by the way, it is on the spp.gov website. I just found it under the Montebello Conference. So far, this whole swine flu outbreak has turned out to be completely a minor event. There's very few cases of it. The cases that are found in the United States are not lethal. They're able to be handled by various kinds of antibiotics that we have on the shelf. The cases that are in Mexico are occurring because Mexico is largely a third world country, and there aren't even good sanitary conditions in much of Mexico. So Mexico is going to be more prone to having an outbreak like this, be a little bit more virulent. But even in Mexico, there aren't very many cases. So far, I'm categorizing this as just a scare. It's an hysteria. Now, what it does reflect, Alex, is when you look at it, look at the amount of media attention, the going to one of the top levels for the World Health Organization to declare that this is a pandemic. All the quarantining that's going on in Mexico, the preparations are clearly in place for the governments in North America to use a pandemic fear, saying, oh, it's 1918 again. There's going to be 30 million people that die worldwide, like happened at the end of World War II with the flu that spread across the world at that time.
World War I, yeah.
World War I, 1918. But there's no evidence whatsoever that this current outbreak is any more than hysteria.
Well, Doc, I didn't know what your view on this would be, but it's identical to mine. Yeah. Day one, I said this is a hoax, this is a fraud, but they're using this as a beta test to prepare for martial law. And then they've basically come out and said that, we know a mega flu is coming in the next 6 months or so, the head of Homeland Security said, and others. And this was a good drill for us. And, we are going to have to forcibly inoculate you and lock down cities. This is perfect to have this while society collapsed, while the offshore banks, now Bloomberg reports, have stolen 14+ trillion. It's now over 12 trillion. Last time it was 12 trillion. Every few months we learn the next, horrible number, over $1 trillion a month. In the last 6 months since the banker takeover, it's now 14+ trillion in what they've committed to or spent. And this is a perfect cover. Now, every time a nation rebels or resists, we got to lock everything down. A flu popped up, whether it kills people or not. I mean, this is amazing.
Well, also, Alex, one of the other parts of this that is important to note is that it's been accepted in the mainstream media that all of this is just normal. In other words, the possibility of government coming in and shutting down schools, of issuing quarantines, even possibly martial law or